If you bought anything from Amazon in the past, you may be familiar with the Amazon Basics range. I think I've purchased some Amazon Basics HDMI cables and perhaps some batteries, but these are a little bit different. We've got Amazon Basics Boomboxes. Now, I'm not expecting too much boom to come out of these boxes, but that's what they're calling them. Portable stereo boombox with CD player, FM radio, tape deck, headphone jack, LCD display, so that's liquid crystal display, and 3.5mm auxiliary input. The difference between the two, well, the boxes are slightly differently sized from one another, and this one is multicoloured, whereas that one is black. But other than that, the specs look much the same. The designs, of course, are slightly different, so I'm wondering if there is any difference in performance between the two, and of course the prices are different, but I need to go into those at the end because the prices seem to be fluctuating. Sometimes this one's more expensive than that one, and at the moment it's that one that's more expensive than that one. But let's not go into that too much at the moment. Let's just open these up and see how bad they are. Yeah, I said bad because I'm not really expecting much, but you know, perhaps I'll be pleasantly surprised. So those are the two devices side by side, and as you can see this one is a little bit larger, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be louder. I've had a look through the specs and they've both got the same power output, 2 times 1 watt. They've got the same signal to noise and frequency response as well, so pretty similar. There are some differences between them, I'll go through those in a minute, but calling either of these things a boombox seems a little bit wrong and also slightly comical. I mean, back in the day, having a proper boombox would be something that you'd covet or value, you cherish, you might show off to your friends. LL Cool J had a rap where he said he was walking down the street to a hardcore beat while his JVC vibrates the concrete. I don't think either of these things are going to be vibrating concrete. They might rattle their own speaker covers, we'll find that out later. And of course, having this badge on the front of both, Amazon Basics, that's not really something that you'd want to show off to your friends. I just wanted to share some snippets with you from the way these are being described in Amazon's listings. Now, both devices are made by the same company and they both share much the same feature set. But it says here, boombox, small size, big sound. Transform your home into an all-day party zone or kick back in style with some classic tunes. And it goes on to mention that it has incredible audio. And apparently both boomboxes are fitted with all the features you'd expect from a premium portable audio setup. But this is the section that gets me, because clearly whoever's written this has never used a cassette in their life, because they say here that these boomboxes support C90 cassette tapes. Yeah, it's compatible with C90 cassettes. They must think that's what we used to call them. You had CDs, you have vinyls, and you've got C90s. Hey dude, pass me those C90s. I've just picked up some funky fresh new C90s. I'm going to put some dope tunes on them. But let's have a look at the differences between the two and the similarities. The first thing I want to talk about is the power. Alright, starting off with the little fella, looks like a handbag this. Underneath here, if we get into this section, this is the battery compartment, and that takes 6 C-cells. Now with this one, the battery compartment is on the back, and this one takes 8 C-cells. They've both got the radio tuning dial on the right hand side. It's FM only on both. Now this one's got an auxiliary input next to that. It's around the other side on that one, I'll show you in a second. But one thing they've done on both of them to save on costs is the tuning dial. Well, there's no display on the front to show what frequency you're tuned to. Instead, they've got the numbers printed on the wheel here. So you look at it from above like that, and you tune it in quite roughly like that. So if we flip this one round to this side, there's our auxiliary input, and above there is a headphone output. This one doesn't have a headphone output. Another feature on this one is an ability to play MP3s off a CD. This one just plays normal compact discs, although of course it is CD-RW compatible and CDR as well. As far as the front goes, they look a little bit different, but it's a similar setup. They've both got 3 buttons either side of a central display, and that display will just show the track numbers for the CD, and as well as the usual stop, play, pause, track skip, forward and back, program, repeat buttons. This one also has a button to access additional folders on the CD, which of course this one doesn't need, but the buttons on here do perform the same functions other than that. Now they've both got the cassette deck on the front. That one's a rather slow eject. Looking in these, they look pretty much the same mechanism as each. We'll find out in a moment whether or not they're stereo. And as far as the other controls go, well, on this one, to select your source, it starts off on the left with tape off, FM mono, FM stereo, and CD/auxiliary, whereas on this one, that's on the top, and it starts off with auxiliary CD on the left, then radio, and then tape, and it's got a separate switch here for FM and FM stereo. That's the volume control on that one, and on this one it's a wheel on the side. So that pretty much covers off the differences and similarities between them. Let's have a listen to some music. Now I've turned the lights down so we get a better look at the display on this one. I'm not using it with the power lead in the back here because I don't want wires hanging around. I'm going to power them both off batteries while I make this video. Now first off we need to switch it into the CD mode, and I've noticed the switch around the side here. Of course you can't see that from the front, so that's a bit annoying. I suppose you get used to the positions though. CD is right at the front, so let's move it up to there and hopefully this thing will turn on. Right, I hope you can see that there. We've got the display coming on, and I presume that's reading the CD. There we go, track 1. Now, the buttons on the front here, well, it started playing straight away. Let's just turn that down a second. I was going to say the buttons on here are very difficult to read because it's shiny black plastic and the information for which button does what has been pressed into them, and you can't really see it very well. That's track, back, forward, program, what's that one say? Repeat, play, pause and stop. Right, play, pause is next to the end. Okay, right, let's turn it up again and have a listen. Okay, well it worked, but that's about the best I can say about it. Well, I suppose, I mean, there was nothing wrong with it. It didn't rattle, there wasn't a weird buzz or anything, but it just sounded exactly how you'd expect a cheap portable CD radio cassette to sound. Not very pleasant to listen to, and yet you could make out what it was playing. So I suppose it achieved what it meant to do. Let's just try playing one of those MP3 CDs in here though, just to see what happens. Very little I'd imagine, but it's worth finding out just in case it does have an ability that they didn't document. Let's just see. Oh, right, play. Oh no, it's just seen it as one track and it's not able to access it properly. So yeah, this one is just for normal CDs, CDRs, that kind of thing. Okay, let's move on to the other one. Okay, let's switch this one on. Right, the display's flashing there. Now this is a liquid crystal display with no backlight, so it might be difficult for you to see that. That says no on there. I presume that means there's no CD, so let's pop one in. I'm going to use an MP3 CD. Oh, it says OP now. I assume that means open. So yeah, just a 2-character display there. It feels like it needs more. But we'll put that in, see what happens, see if it can read this MP3 CD. Right, I've tried to get a better shot of that and it's not worked out. You can see how difficult it is to see. If I put a light on it though, you can see we've got 9 tracks on there. So let's have a listen. Well, again, just like the other one, it works, but I think that's about the best thing I can say about it. They both treat bass as though it was one of the world's rarest commodities and it shouldn't be wasted in a boombox. Okay, I'm going to try the cassette deck, and I'm going to start off with my stereo test cassette. This is just to check that both channels are being represented properly, and of course the cassettes in this go in that way up, so therefore the tape moves from this reel to that one as it's playing. And the only reason I mention that is because if I didn't, I know I'd get lots of people saying, why is the play button pointing the wrong direction? Actually, I might not get that many because it's quite hard to see, but it points that way. I know in the past, whenever I've had a machine that's set out like this, people say, why does the play button point to the left? And similarly, rewind points to the right, fast forward to the left. Well, it's just showing the way the tape's going, the direction of the tape. So if you ever get a deck with the cassette in this way up, it's more than likely they're going to have put the buttons in this configuration, especially one of these more modern cassette decks where they all use the same mechanism. Now I need to move it into the tape mode. Bit noisy on the fast forward, but we'll have a listen. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Excellent, it's stereo. Well, I say excellent. It's a small win, but we'll take it. Let's just try the other one. Oh dear. Okay, now I'm sure you're not a professional audiophile just like myself, but perhaps you could spot a slight problem with the audio there. Maybe a little bit of a speed irregularity. Let's just have another listen. Right, well, that's driving me slightly potty, so we'll stop it, but you could probably hear then it was getting better as it went along. The speed was increasing, so I think what I should do is just put a blank tape in here, perhaps a 60-minute one, so play through a full 30 minutes on one side before I test it again, see if it's got up to the right speed at that point. Well, so far, the one that looks most like a clown is behaving least like one. And I've just noticed one thing. I should have spotted this earlier on. I feel a bit of a fool for not doing. No record on the cassette on either of them. So that takes out a load of tests that I was going to do. Makes it a lot easier. But yeah, they're both just cassette players, not cassette recorders. Right, let's try playing a cassette in this one, though, just to see how it sounds. Now, it's picking up quite a bit of interference, as things often do in here. There we go, got it in a better spot there. So I'm going to move the camera around, we'll have a listen. Yeah, a bit of a mess to listen to that. It wasn't enjoyable at all. Let's just fast forward to the end now, because I want to see if the auto stops working on it. Well, that works. Let's give the radio a try.
Copy, not Billy Zen. Put in C4.
Yeah, it's a very familiar story with the radio. It really only picks up very strong signals. Now, if you can find one of those, it will latch onto it. I'm sure it's got auto frequency control in here, and it will stick to it. But trying to get that station in the first place is very difficult. You need very fine movements of your finger to be able to catch a station. As soon as you hear it, you're past it. It's not like a proper analog tuner where you work your way into a station and then you work your way back out the other side. It's either on or off. It's very hit and miss. Okay, now this one's back from its punishment of playing a blank tape for half an hour, but hopefully that has improved the speed. Let's have a listen. What's going on? What happened there? I pressed something.
Right,
oh.
right, right.
It's a bit too enthusiastic then. It is definitely stereo though, so I suppose that's a positive, but yeah, this one seems a little bit flaky. Well, on the whole, it's playing back tapes at the speed that it should be doing, and they sound as fine as they sounded in the other one. I can't really tell any difference between the two.
We have hopefully got a winner coming up on the £1 million cash register.
So, from the top...
Yeah, very choppy tuning again on this one, although I did seem to be able to pick up a couple more stations, but that might have just been luck rather than anything else. I'm sure they're both using the same circuitry inside. Now, I think we can guess that the results aren't going to be great, but just for completeness sake, I wanted to do a quick wow and flutter and speed test on both the boomboxes. I still don't like calling them boomboxes, but anyway, on both the devices. The problem with this one is it doesn't have a headphone output, and that's the thing that I'd normally plug into here. So instead, I'd have to listen back to my tape through the speakers, and I'm listening to that through the microphones on here via the headphone output, which is going into this. I'm not confident that this is getting proper results. I think there's too many steps in this chain where something could interfere with it. Now, I've muted the audio on this section so you don't have to listen to that 3 kHz tone that I was listening to. And as far as the wow and flutter goes, well, the needle seems to be bouncing around 0.3%, so if that's true, it is pretty wobbly. But it's the speed that makes me think these measurements aren't correct, as it shows that this one is running over 3% fast. Okay, now with this one, we're back to the normal method of testing. I've plugged it into the headphone output on the side, and the results on here, well, they look a bit better than the other one, which again makes me think that those results weren't right, but let's have a closer look. So I think these results are more accurate. We've got the 3% set like we had before, but the needle on the other one was off the scale. Here it's hanging around the middle. So we'll drill it down to 1%. So we're looking at the top row now, and the speed difference, the variation, Well, it's hanging around 0. It's going down to approximately 0.5% slow there and moving its way back up to 0 again. So it's not maintaining a constant speed, it is fluctuating. And over here on the Flutter, 1% at the top, so we're looking at the top row here, and it's bouncing around 0.4% wow and Flutter. So not great results, but yeah, I'll discount the other ones that I got because I don't trust those. I think this is more representative of what these mechanisms can do, and it's not great. It's what you'd expect though. Now, I'm sure if you're a subscriber to this channel, you already knew the kind of results we were going to get out of these. Even if you haven't seen previous videos, just from looking at them, you can tell how bad they're going to sound, and you'd be right. This one on the left is a little bit better because we've got a headphone output on it, so we can bypass those tinny speakers, and that is fine for listening to CDs or the radio if you could get it tuned in. As far as the cassette goes though, still a little bit too wobbly to listen to on this, so not something I'd recommend. Of course, I'm not recommending either of these, I'm recommending you avoid them. I just want to briefly touch on the prices, because when I bought mine, the smaller one was £21.51, the larger multicoloured one £65.79. Now, I bought both because I really wanted to see what that extra £40 paid for. At the time, there were no reviews of either of them. But then today, when I look on Amazon, the one that was £65 is now down to £37, and the one that was £21 is up to £65. So the smaller one, the one with less features, now costs the most. It makes absolutely no sense. But then again, I'm sure if you were to look again today, those prices would have changed again. I don't think that either of them would be worth spending your own money on, and that's really why I make a video like this, just to point out the deficiencies in something like this. But then you get people say, well, what do you recommend instead? Well, I don't recommend that you expect to pay £20 for a boombox and get brilliant results. They were never that cheap back in the day. If you spent that amount on something back in the 80s, you would have got a terrible boombox as well. So yeah, don't expect too much for a very small amount of money. But over the last few years, whenever anyone has asked me what portable stereo radio cassette I'd recommend, I've suggested this one, the Panasonic RX-D55. There's also a model further down the range which has lower level of sound output but has a much higher battery life as a result. Also, this one's got a USB MP3 capability. I think the lower down one didn't. We've got a drawer loading CD drive, auxiliary input, AM/FM radio, but most importantly, the cassette mechanism in this one. This seemed to have been one of the last decent quality cassette mechs. I think this seems to be a Panasonic mech, or if it isn't, at least it's one that they've spec'd up with higher quality components, such as perhaps a metal flywheel, better quality tape head, better quality motor. Whatever it was they did to this tape mech meant that it's a lot better for playing cassettes back than any modern day boombox. Now, I said was because that's really the reason I made this video today. I wanted just to mention this because it does seem like it has now been discontinued. When I reviewed this, I thought that it wasn't destined to be too long for this world because it had been on the market for quite a while and it was missing some of the features that people expect nowadays, such as Bluetooth, for example. So, of course, Panasonic have now updated the range of boomboxes on the UK website, and this has now vanished. But the new ones, importantly, have done away with the cassette deck. So this mechanism here, this decent quality mech, it looks like this is the last we'll ever see of it. So if you do want to play cassettes on a portable device like this with a decent quality of sound, then maybe you should try hunting out one of these before they all disappear forever. But if you don't get one of these, of course, well, you've always got these things to pick up. I'm sure there'll be things like this made for years to come. This is your future of boomboxes. We've got something that looks like a little handbag or something that looks like a big clown's handbag. But either way, they're just terrible, aren't they? Yes, it will play the audio, and I suppose that's all that people bother about. But if you want quality, that was it. But this is now your future. Enjoy it. Anyway, that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.